Ever wondered what makes TV so powerful in Jamaica? Time to find out. Welcome to Global TV Group 358, where television meets innovation. We're not just about shows, we're about shaping society. In Jamaica, TV keeps you informed, connects diverse voices, and supports democracy. Imagine a Jamaica where broadcasters unite, sharing data and collaborating globally. That's us, a unified voice in the TV industry. Did you know TV advertising is still king? It drives website traffic, boosts brand equity, and powers integrated campaigns. Even in an age of digital, TV stands strong, resilient in tough times. Our Global TV Deck is your treasure trove of insights and data. With charts, graphs, and success stories, it's your guide to impactful TV advertising. Curious to learn more? Visit our website and see how Global TV Group 358 keeps television at the heart of entertainment in Jamaica. Get ready to binge watch the future.
Corruption is a vile disease that sucks and drains the health out of something good. Corruption in society is an evil moral infection that keeps community in a state of perpetual sickness. Corruption is a moral virus. It's so potent, it leaves its host sick, lethargic, and unable to realize and accomplish all that a well person can. Where corruption thrives, poverty and not prosperity thrives. Wealth is grabbed into the greedy, grubby hands of those who get fat on the toil and labor of good people. Corruption benefits, only temporarily, those who participate in it. Everyone else is a victim of the theft, the deceit, the dishonesty, and the lies that corruption feeds on. You need to know that a corrupt person is stealing from you. Corruption is filthy work and despicable acts of treachery done under the table and behind closed doors. Corruption is a disgusting shame. Corruption keeps a nation back from true development and from progress. Wise investors steer clear of a corrupt environment. They would rather put their resources into a place where the playing field of opportunity is equal for all and not bent towards feeding the financial lust of corrupt, lying, cheating, thieving politicians and government officials. How many wonderful development projects have been lost because the investors didn't want to do business in a swamp of evil? When those great projects go to another nation or to some other place, we all lose. Believe me when I tell you that corruption steals from you, it steals from all of us. Corruption plunders the nation's wealth. Corrupt people compromise on truth, equity, and fairness, choosing instead to feed off the short-term benefits of crookedness, exploitation, and financial perversion. Corruption is not just a personal matter, it's a culture. It's a way of life, not just for individual people, but for companies, communities, governments, and nations. Corrupt nations, hiding behind large companies, will seek to invest in other weak nations in order to take over the assets of the nation that they've invested into. They will provide financial loans to a nation for the much-needed infrastructure, and they will do it with assets that they provide. They will sign contracts by lining the pockets of rotten government officials who participate in this kind of corruption and are then held hostage by their own deceit and greed. Corruption is nothing less than a form of theft and national robbery. A corrupt person steals from everyone in society.
Together, run, keep going on, less process. For children of Israel do really love rights. So just as I and I as a watchman, I run Babylonian walls. Oh, children of Israel, I shall never hold thy peace. What wrong is going on? Day or night. We gonna bust down Babylon walls. Prepare the way. Prepare the way for your people. Let's go. Fight down war and crime. Fight down. Me say Rastafari. War and crime. And do the righteousness. And we love. And we love Jaja.
Jah Rastafari.
And we love Jaja.
Jah Rastafari. Save all people.
And we love Jaja. We love Jaja.
Jah Rastafari.
We love Jaja.
Jah Rastafari. Preserve all people.
Put time away. Put time away again. Listen.
Yeah.
Just as I and I say, watch your man. I run Babylonian walls. Oh, children of Israel. I should never hold thy peace while we penalize. Hey, oh, night. We gonna bust down Babylon gates. Prepare every the way. Prepare every the way for Jah Rastafari. Fight down war and
Fight down war and fight.
Rastafari, war and crime, and build up righteousness. And we love Jah, and we love Jah,
Jah
and we love
Rastafari.
Jah,
Jah Rastafari. Preserve all.
and we love Jah.
Jah Rastafari.
Me love Jah,
Jah
me
Rastafari.
love Jah,
Jah Rastafari. Preserve all.
me love Jah,
Jah Rastafari.
Jah
Jah
Rastafari,
Rastafari.
Jah.
Rastafari.
Yeah, the next song is going to be the last song for tonight, and then DJ Twink.
Good evening, and welcome. It is still Boxing Day on my side of the end, and it is Boxing Day on your end as well. We are on a journey this evening on the back road and dark room of political pimpery and prostitution. Nigeria, Jamaica, giant of Africa, superpower of the Caribbean. They're all deeply wedged and meddled into geopolitics at the moment. You need to understand what is going on. You probably don't like geopolitics, but it is, though, important to all of what is going on now, because Nigeria and Jamaica have all sold us out again. Nigeria and Jamaica is taking us back into slavery. And you would want to know, if you want to know, you would stick around this evening, because a broad part of this plan also, what Trump and Ebola is doing in Nigeria, is to topple Abraham Traore. It was the same move that we see Ebola and that little boy from France, that little one with the handbag on the skirt. Yeah, the Macron one. So we have to watch what Jamaica and Nigeria, the role that the superpower of the Caribbean and the giant of Africa is playing in geopolitics at the moment, and how both of these two crooks on screen are using us as pawn in their pimpinella and prostitution game that they have been held hostage in. But haven't we got ourselves to blame when we are so entrenched in their corruption that we cannot even hold them accountable, and they then thereby are held ransom by their political and puppet masters who regularly pull their strings and get them to do their very own bidding. Good evening. Welcome to Boxing Day show right here on Global TV. Lovely to have you all here this evening. Thank you all very much for being here. Debbie Jervis, good evening. Good evening, Matthew. God bless. Good evening, Charlotte Graham. Those of you silent watchers, good evening, and welcome. Thank you all for joining us this evening. It is important that we understand the geopolitical play and where our country stands in it, the decisions or leaders take in it. And we're going to look at the two different limbs tonight of these two patsies. We're going to, for the purpose of tonight's show, they're Arlene and Geraldine, the Finkelstein sisters. Arlene and Geraldine, the Finkelstein sisters, the sellout of Africa and the Caribbean. No other than Andrew Holness and Bola Tinubu. We ought to understand the political play because we, the people, the consequences that will come from what Bola Tinubu, Geraldine Finkelstein, and Andrew Holness, Arlene Finkelstein is getting into, they won't be the one to face the consequences of whatever comes out of what they're pushing themselves into, and a draw we inner unwillingly kicking some of us and screaming. Now we're going to look at the Venezuela situation in our hemisphere in the Caribbean. And we're going to look at the Sahel situation, Trump and Nigeria. If you're not following geopolitics, you wouldn't know that Trump delivered a Christmas present to Nigeria by bomb dropping in the way of fighting terrorism, the usual way that the West get to stay in Africa, to have a foothold in Africa, to continue their stealing in Africa. And you will understand when we go to Black Cultures Diary later on, you will understand why Nigeria is playing this sell us out role again. But let's look at Jamaica and our sell us out role again, that the so-called superpower of the Caribbean is playing. Throughout the whole of this development with Trump and Venezuela, for 6 months of it, Andrew Holness held the chair for CARICOM. All of this talk going on of war, Andrew Holness is silent. At the United Nations, we hear he give his green light. But in South Africa at the G20, he made it quite clear to us that he support the illegality of Trump's behavior. Andrew Holness regularly, Abina Sarkodie, how you do? Andrew Holness regularly as well get in between Trump and Venezuela. It happened in Trump's first term. It's happening now in Trump's second term. Who faced the consequences of that? Us, the Jamaica people, where Andrew Holness threw the Venezuela oil deal under the table, where we get and all of them something there. We face the consequences. Andrew never faced the consequences from it. Look at when Venezuela sent aid to Jamaica the other day. They snubbed Venezuela. They disrespected Venezuela. Not because Venezuela did us anything. Not because Venezuela did us anything. Because Andrew Holness decided to take side with Donald Trump over Andrew Holness don't know where Donald Trump a war over. So Venezuela, Donald Trump just thief Venezuela oil and have it America refine it. And Donald Trump a walk and a give excuse of how come the oil belongs to America. Do you support Donald Trump oil stealing on high seas, Andrew Holness? Because so far, everything Donald Trump do, you're in league with. Now, look at the diplomacy in geopolitics. Within weeks of Trump's inauguration, we get order in relation to the Cuban nurses. Marco Rubio come to Jamaica. To date, we really don't know, barring for run the Cuban nurses them, where Marco Rubio come out. Melissa come, and then after Melissa come, one of Marco Rubio undersecretary visit Jamaica. After that, you have one of the undersecretary within the Department of War visits Jamaica. At the same time, while Trump is moving around in the region, just dropping bomb with Andrew Holness chair of CARICOM blessing. Do you understand when we say you must understand the role in geopolitics, the role your country and your leader play in geopolitics? Because when the effect come, whether be by a war, natural disaster, or whatever, or sanction, or whatever, you are the people. You, the people, are the ones to feel the brunt of it. Now, Nigeria, ever since we know, say, 3 countries, mainly Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, push out France and America from them country. They're setting a stage for freedom of Africa and the global world. They've established their own, they've become a confederation. The 3 countries become one, they become a confederation. President Goita, the president of Niger. But President Goita have become the president of the confederation. They have also established their own central bank, starting with $5 billion. They have established their radio station and TV station and all of that. Send you a WhatsApp message, get a chance to listen. Hold on there. Hold on there.
Ninja Man's letter to dance on.
I think I'll do this tomorrow, Abena, because I need to listen it first, and I'll need to screen record it to get it in studio, or I could play it from here, just the audio of it. But I'll sort it out. All right, I'll talk to you about that later. So they're doing a lot. They've established their own central bank, and if you're following Burkina Faso, especially, you see the rapid development going on in Burkina Faso. You know, they claim back their gold mines and all of their uranium mines and all of that. The big problem is they have kicked out France and America, their military base. They've taken back all of their mining wells and all of that. We see the other day when Benin made the attempt to free themselves, how Nigeria went in and stop it on behalf of France. Then earlier on before that, we hear Donald Trump threaten this idiot on screen say, because Muslim are kill Christian, he's going to intervene. But we're going to let Black Culture Diary explain it all to you in the geopolitical settings and the crookedness of these people. But all of what you see going on in Nigeria at the moment is targeted at Abraham Traore. This is a problem that is holding us back as Black people. We keep selling out each other. We keep cutting down each other. Nigeria have a vested interest in the Sahel, the three countries, the Sahel Alliance that has become a federation. Nigeria have a vested interest in them failing because their success is going to trigger an uprising in Nigeria. And they are afraid of that. They want to maintain the power and the stealing and all of them something there. Abraham Traore, President Goitan, I forget the other, the name of the other president, is a threat to these corrupt leaders like the Nigerian leader, the leader of Uganda, the leader of Cameroon, the leader of Cote d'Ivoire. These corrupt people who wants to hold on to power for dear life, who want to continue to steal from us. And that's why I continue to say Nigerians and Jamaicans should shut up. Shut up and tone down on the voice when they not talk to the world, when they not talk to the rest of the Caribbean, when they not talk to the rest of the Africa. Shut up, because you are all being held hostage. You're all being held hostage. We've all been held hostage by our involvement in the political corruption of our political masters, because we don't have leaders, mind you. We've been held hostage. But let's go to Black Culture Diary and we'll come back on the other side.
Is the United States spying over Nigeria? According to a new report by Reuters, the United States has been conducting intelligence gathering flights over large parts of Nigeria since late November. And the report cites flight tracking data as well as current and former U.S. officials.
Nothing exploded. No troops landed. No warnings were issued. Yet something changed in Nigeria in late November. High above the noise of daily life, above markets, highways, schools, and villages, an invisible presence began to pass again and again through the sky. Most people never noticed, but in the world of power and geopolitics, silence like that is never empty. Because when great powers start moving quietly, it usually means decisions are being made before anyone is told. At the same time, thousands of miles away in Washington, Donald Trump issued a blunt warning about Nigeria, accusing its government of failing to stop violence and hinting at possible intervention. Days later, the skies over Africa's largest nation were no longer.
What if you can create your own website by saying, this is what I want? With Wix, you can.
No longer just Nigerian skies. Coincidence? Or the opening move of a much bigger game? Let's find out. At first, nothing looked different. The skies over Nigeria were still blue. Planes still passed now and then, just like any other day. People still rushed through traffic in Lagos. Farmers still walked their fields in the north, and families still locked their doors a little tighter at night. Yet beneath that normality, something had shifted. Since late November, something unfamiliar had begun to trace long, quiet paths across Nigeria's airspace. Not once, not twice, but almost every day. No announcements were made, no flags were raised. But in geopolitics, the most important moves rarely come with noise. On the ground, Nigeria was already under strain. Armed groups were expanding their reach. Kidnappings had become routine. Entire highways were feared after sunset. In northern states, more than 300 school children had been abducted. shaking the country and reminding everyone how fragile security had become. President Bola Tinubu responded by declaring a security emergency, ordering mass recruitment into the army and police, and promising tougher action. It was an admission that the crisis was no longer isolated. It was national. And yet, while Nigerians focused on what they could see, attacks, fear, and political speeches, something else was unfolding above them, unseen. Quiet routes across the sky, looping patterns, long arcs that didn't fit the rhythm of commercial flights. To most eyes, it meant nothing. But to those who read power, it meant everything. Because the sky is not just space. They are territory. And when someone else starts moving through your territory without making a show of it, it signals that your problems are no longer just yours. What made this moment even heavier was what had just happened in Washington. In November, Donald Trump publicly accused Nigeria's government of failing to stop violence against Christian communities and warned that the United States might intervene if the situation did not improve. The words were sharp, direct, the kind of words that stick. Nigeria pushed back, saying the violence was complex, affecting both Muslims and Christians, driven by criminal and militant groups rather than a religious war. But once such a narrative is released by a US president, it does not simply fade. It becomes a lens through which everything else is judged. And then, almost immediately after those words, the quiet movements in the sky began. No one in Nigeria heard a speech announcing cooperation. No press conference spoke of joint missions. No headlines were saying foreign aircraft would now patrol Nigerian airspace. Just silence and patterns only visible on flight tracking screens thousands of miles away. That silence itself became the message. Because when powerful countries want to help, they usually say so. When they want to prepare, they usually don't. For ordinary Nigerians, life continued as usual. But for anyone watching carefully, the timing was too precise to ignore. Threats from Washington on one side, unexplained activity in the skies on the other hand. Two pieces of a puzzle that seemed to be sliding together. So the question at the heart of this story is simple and unsettling. What exactly started flying over Nigeria after Trump's warning? And who was really behind it? What started flying over Nigeria was not a Nigerian aircraft at all. It was American. Flight tracking data later revealed that a jet linked to the United States had begun sweeping across Nigerian airspace almost every day since late November. It did not take off from Abuja or Lagos. It rose from Accra, Ghana, crossed deep into Nigeria, traced long looping paths over multiple regions, and then quietly returned to base. Over and over again, like a patrol that did not want to be noticed. The aircraft was identified as a Gulfstream Vi, a long-range business jet, but one commonly modified for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions. In military form, it becomes a flying command post, packed with equipment to intercept communications, monitor electronic signals, track movements on the ground, and map activity across vast areas. This is not a plane you use to look out of the window. It is a plane you use to listen. And it was being operated by Tenax Aerospace, a Mississippi-based company known for providing special mission aircraft and working closely with the US military. Not an airline, not a humanitarian group. A contractor whose business is flying when governments want eyes in the sky without putting official military markings on the tail. That detail matters. Because when surveillance is outsourced like this, it gives governments room to act without formally announcing anything. It creates distance, plausible deniability. But the mission remains the same: collect intelligence. Even more telling was where the jet came from before it reached Ghana. Flight data showed it had been at MacDill Air Force Base in Florida earlier in November, the headquarters of US Special Operations Command. From there, it flew to Accra on November 24th. Days later, the Nigerian overflights began. That is not how random travel looks. That is how assets are repositioned. Accra itself is not just a friendly capital. Analysts describe it as a known hub for US military logistics in West Africa. Quiet, stable, cooperative. A place where aircraft can operate without drawing attention, while still reaching deep into the region. From Ghana, Nigeria's vast airspace becomes easily accessible. Yet despite all this, there was no official announcement from Washington. No statement from Abuja welcoming cooperation. No public explanation of why a US-linked surveillance aircraft was now flying regular routes over Africa's largest country. When asked, U.S. officials acknowledged the flights but refused to give details, citing diplomatic sensitivity. TNX Aerospace did not respond to requests for comment. Nigerian military spokespeople stayed silent.
I dare you to let me build you a completely free e-commerce store.
That silence was almost louder than any statement could have been. Because if this were routine counterinsurgency support, it would normally be showcased as a partnership. If it were training, it would be public. If it were humanitarian, it would be advertised. But this was none of those. This was quiet, technical, and deliberately low profile. And that raises the obvious question. If the US suddenly moved a surveillance jet from its special operations base to Ghana and began near-daily intelligence flights over Nigeria, what exactly changed in the region that made rebuilding these eyes in the sky so urgent? What changed was that the United States lost its main window into West Africa. Last year, Niger ordered American troops to leave a major desert air base that had served as a cornerstone of US surveillance across the Sahel. From that base, Washington had been watching militant movements, tracking smuggling routes, and monitoring vast stretches of territory from Libya down toward Nigeria. When Niger shut that door and instead turned to Russia for security support, it didn't just change one partnership. It shattered a whole intelligence network that the US had built over the years. Suddenly, Washington was blind in a region that matters deeply to its counterinsurgency strategy. And when great powers lose visibility, they don't accept it. They rebuild. That is why Ghana became critical. And that is why Nigeria moved into focus. Africa's most populous country sits right at the center of West Africa, bordering unstable regions, facing active insurgencies, and connecting the Sahel to the Gulf of Guinea. If you want to regain eyes over this part of the continent, Nigeria's skies are the perfect place to start. US officials, speaking to Reuters, gave their official explanation. The flights, they said, were meant to track Boko Haram and its splinter group, Islamic State West Africa Province. They were also tied to efforts to locate a US pilot kidnapped in neighboring Niger while working for a missionary agency. On paper, that sounds reasonable. Counterinsurgency, hostage tracking, regional stability. But here's the deeper truth. Even if all of that is partly real, it does not explain the scale, frequency, and timing of these missions. Near-daily flights are not just about one kidnapping. They are about building a full picture, mapping patterns, reconstructing an intelligence web that was torn apart when Niger shut the door. And then there is the political trigger that gave urgency to it all. In November, Donald Trump publicly warned Nigeria, accusing its government of failing to stop violence against Christian communities and hinting at possible intervention. Those words were not spoken in a vacuum. Once a US president frames a country's internal crisis in moral terms, it creates space for action. Surveillance becomes easier to justify. Pressure becomes easier to apply. From that moment, Washington needed its own data, not just reports from Abuja, not just briefings from allies. It needed independent eyes in the sky to judge the situation for itself, to see where militants operate, to assess whether Nigeria is doing
I thought so too. And I'm losing patience with President Mahama as a Pan-Africanist. As a Pan-Africanist, I expect him to go the Sahel route. I mean, have you all taken note of what is going on in Namibia? Huh? A Pan-Africanist like John Mahama, Ghana does not need American military on their soil. The more you remove Western military base from Africa, Africa will have elbow room to develop. It's the Western military that are there funding these terror groups to give them excuse to stay in Africa and steal. We need to get these people out of our continent.
Enough to decide what comes next. Nigeria, for its part, rejected the idea that the violence is a simple religious conflict. Abuja has consistently said that both Muslims and Christians are targeted by armed groups, and that the crisis is driven by criminal gangs, insurgents, and local conflicts, not a war on one faith. But once a powerful country locks onto a narrative, facts alone rarely loosen its grip. So the flights serve two purposes at once. Militarily, they rebuild the US intelligence reach after the loss of Niger. Politically, they give Washington leverage, its own version of reality over Nigeria's security situation, which leads to the most sensitive part of this story. Because for flights like these to happen so frequently over Nigeria, one question cannot be avoided. Did Nigeria agree to let them happen? Let's pause for a second to say big thank you to the Black Culture Diary community, where Black voices, stories, and legacies are preserved and amplified. By becoming a member, you're not just supporting the channel, you're becoming part of a powerful cultural movement. Let's continue. Yes, Nigeria did agree, but quietly, and at a moment of deep vulnerability. According to a Nigerian security source cited by Reuters, on November 20th, Nigeria's National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, met with U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. In that meeting, the United States agreed to deploy air assets for intelligence gathering. In plain terms, that means these surveillance flights over Nigeria are not happening in secret defiance of Abuja. They are happening with their consent. But consent in geopolitics is never just a signature. It depends on who is asking and how desperate the other side is. At the time of that meeting, Nigeria was under intense pressure. Armed attacks were escalating. Kidnappings had reached shocking levels. School children were being taken in mass abductions that horrified the country. Highways were no longer safe.
This is how France and America sponsor terrorism when they want to get into your country. ISIS, ISR, whatever they call it, was sponsored by Israel. Boko Haram is sponsored by France. America trained, supply weapons, and fund Al-Qaeda. So when America and France want to fight in terrorism in Africa and the Middle East, they create their own terror organization and then paint the media narrative, and it gives them the okay to come in your country, come drop bomb. Oh, no, no, learn about America and France and Britain. Tell them say it's important to understand geopolitics because to say our leaders are porn. No porn. They might use West porn, but they are the pimps and the prostitutes in this geopolitics game.
What happens if you give ChatGPT and an AI agent the same question? I tested it and the results.
Communities were begging for protection. President Bola Tinubu had just declared a security emergency, ordering mass recruitment into the army and police. It was a public admission that the state was struggling to contain the crisis. In moments like this, governments look for help wherever they can find it. And when a superpower offers intelligence, technology, and surveillance, it is hard to refuse, especially when that same superpower has just issued public warnings about possible intervention. So yes, Nigeria may have opened its skies, but it did so from a position of weakness, not strength. U.S. officials later confirmed the aircraft had been flying over Nigeria, but refused to give details, citing diplomatic sensitivity. The Pentagon said it had held productive meetings with Nigeria after Trump's comments, but declined to discuss intelligence activities. Nigerian military spokespeople did not respond to requests for comment. Ghana's defense officials also stayed silent. Everyone involved chose their words carefully, or chose not to speak at all. And that silence tells you something important. Because when cooperation is truly equal, it is often celebrated. Joint statements are issued, press conferences are held, partnerships are highlighted. But when cooperation shifts power in uncomfortable ways, it tends to be wrapped in quiet language and anonymity. For Nigeria, allowing foreign surveillance in its skies carries real risks. Once another country starts collecting its own intelligence inside your borders, it no longer depends on your reports. It can judge your performance. It can identify your weaknesses. It can decide where you are failing. and then use that assessment to justify pressure, conditions, or deeper involvement. And this is happening at a time when Nigeria's crisis is already being framed from abroad in moral terms. Trump's narrative of religious violence gives Washington a reason to say, "We are watching because we must, because someone has to." That is how leverage is built, not through one big dramatic move, but through a series of quiet permissions that slowly change who holds the upper hand. Which brings us to the larger picture. Because this is not just about helping Nigeria fight militants, it is also about what the United States lost in the region and what it is now trying to rebuild. So the real question is, beyond Nigeria's crisis, what bigger strategic game are these flights part of? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video, and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. They are part of Washington's attempt to rebuild power in a region it is quietly losing. When Niger forced US troops out and turned to Russia, it sent a shock through American strategy in West Africa. For years, the US had relied on bases in the Sahel to monitor militant groups, protect its interests, and shape security outcomes across the region. Losing Niger didn't just mean losing a runway. It meant losing influence, losing access, losing the ability to see and respond first. At the same time, countries like Mali and Burkina Faso were also moving away from Western security partnerships, choosing new paths and new allies. Slowly, the map of West Africa was changing. And for Washington, Nigeria became the last major pillar it could not afford to lose. Nigeria is not just another state. It is Africa's most populous nation, its largest economy, and the anchor of West Africa. If the US maintains deep security influence in Nigeria, it still has a foothold in the region. If it loses Nigeria too, its entire position in West Africa weakens. That is why these flights matter beyond counterinsurgency. Surveillance over Nigeria allows Washington to rebuild an intelligence network that stretches back into the Sahel. From Nigerian skies, the US can once again monitor militant movements, cross-border flows, and regional dynamics. In strategic terms, Nigeria becomes the new platform to replace what was lost in Niger, and Trump's threats fit neatly into this picture. By framing Nigeria's crisis as a moral failure, Washington creates political space for deeper involvement. Surveillance is no longer just about information. It becomes about judgment, about deciding whether Nigeria is doing enough, about preparing options if Washington concludes that it is not. This is how influence tightens, not with tanks, but with data, not with bases, but with access. For Nigeria, this creates a dangerous imbalance. On paper, it is cooperation. In reality, one side now controls the tools that define reality itself. Whoever owns the intelligence owns the narrative, and whoever owns the narrative shapes the next steps. Today, US officials say the flights are about Boko Haram, Islamic State West Africa province, and a kidnapped pilot. Tomorrow, the same intelligence could be used to argue that Nigeria is failing. It needs more help, that stronger measures are required, that advisors must be sent. Those operations must expand. This is not speculation. It is how security partnerships have evolved in many countries before. And all of this is happening quietly, while Nigerians deal with fear, loss, and uncertainty on the ground. The sky becomes a space where decisions about Nigeria's future are being prepared without public debate, without parliamentary approval, without citizens even knowing it is happening. Which brings us to the moment.
You have something in your home right now that could make you thousands of dollars and literally change your financial.
Isn't it the same thing we are experiencing, where Andrew's meeting all these different American officials, making all these deals with them, nothing going to our parliament, nothing debated in our country, but Andrew Holness just goes around and sign deal with God knows whoever. Don't you see the same thing applies to us here? Everything is just happening around us, and we are meant to accept it and not question anything.
Truth. Because once foreign surveillance becomes normal, it rarely stays limited to just watching. So the final question is this: if American eyes now control the picture from above Nigeria, What does that mean for who will control what happens below? It means the balance of control is already shifting. When American eyes dominate the picture from above Nigeria, they don't just observe, they define. They decide what counts as a threat, where failure lies, and what response seems necessary. Intelligence is not neutral, it shapes choices. And once a foreign power holds the clearest view of your security reality, it gains quiet power over your future. Today, it is surveillance flights. That sounds technical, almost harmless. But in modern conflicts, surveillance is the first layer of involvement. It comes before advisors, before training missions, before special forces, before permanent facilities. Each step is justified by the data collected in the step before it. This is how presence grows without ever needing a dramatic announcement. For Nigeria, the risk is not just that foreign aircraft are in its skies. The risk is that its crisis is being interpreted through a lens built in Washington. Trump's framing of Nigeria as failing to protect Christians gives the US a moral storyline. The intelligence flights give it the evidence it needs to argue its case. Together, they create pressure, subtle but powerful. And once that pressure exists, choice is narrow. If Nigeria resists deeper involvement later, it can be accused of hiding something. If it accepts more help, it moves further into dependence. Either way, control slowly slips. This is happening at a moment when Nigeria is vulnerable. Its security forces are stretched, its people are exhausted, its leadership is under pressure to show results. In such moments, short-term relief can look more important than long-term independence. But history is full of examples where countries traded sovereignty for security, only to find they lost both. What makes this moment especially sensitive is the regional context. West Africa is in flux. Old alliances are breaking, new ones are forming. Niger's pivot to Russia showed that African states can choose different paths. But it also showed that when they do, great powers don't retreat, they reposition. Nigeria now appears to be where Washington is repositioning. And once Nigeria becomes the new anchor for US intelligence in the region, it is no longer just dealing with its own problems. It becomes part of a wider strategic contest between global powers. Its internal crisis becomes a stage on which others pursue their interests. The planes will keep flying because they serve too many purposes to stop. They rebuild the US reach, they collect leverage, they prepare options, and all of it happens far above public view, while ordinary Nigerians struggle with fear on the ground. This does not mean intervention is inevitable, but it does mean the conditions for pressure are being quietly assembled. So Nigeria stands at a silent crossroads. It can treat these flights as temporary help, or it can recognize them as the opening move of a deeper involvement that will be harder to reverse the longer it continues. Because once foreign powers grow comfortable in your skies, they rarely stay satisfied with just watching. So the final question Nigeria must confront is this: will these eyes in the sky fade away once security improves, or are they the first sign that Nigeria's future is about to be shaped by someone else? Let us know in the comment section, what do you think about this? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel.
I'm sure you've seen the pattern. Debbie Jervis, how you do? Welcome. I'm sure you've seen the pattern. Nigeria is unable to deal with its own security to the point where on Christmas Day, can you imagine? On Christmas Day is when Donald Trump decided to start bombing so-called terrorists in Nigeria. Yeah, I kid you not. It happened on Christmas Day. What a present, Bola Tinubu. But Bola Tinubu, who went in on the order of France to stop a revolution in Benin, cannot handle their own security in his country, so Donald Trump have to come in and start bombing. Similarly, Andrew Holness cannot protect the security of the Jamaican people, but on the behest of America, Andrew Holness can go Haiti to stabilize Haiti. Do you see the pattern of this superpower of the Caribbean and this giant of Africa? Do you see the sellout? Do you see the lead us back into slavery by these two leaders? Can you see how far they are up this old madman rear end? I mean, it's not even a sensible president that is spinning these little fools around. It's idiot Donald Trump. It is idiot Donald Trump that is pulling the strings of Andrew Holness and Bola Tinubu. The people of Nigeria and Jamaica, if one don't want to bear the consequences, you have a duty to stand against what your leaders are doing. Andrew Holness is causing problem in the Caribbean community. Bola Tinubu is creating the same misery and mischief in the West African community. Not in our interest, though. That's where the problem is. Not in our interest. But any repercussion come out of it, be sure, say, we are going to bear the brunt of it. At this moment, Andrew Holness and Bola Tinubu get held hostage by their prostitution. We also held hostage by them because we so entrenched and dabbled in their corruption. We even afraid to call them out. Because then we look back upon and say, members say. And because of that, we are going cap in hand. Our country is going cap in hand wherever mad Donald Trump wants us to go. And we don't seem to be able to stop Andrew Holness or Bola Tinubu from lead us into destruction, because that's all it will turn out into, destruction. Why Bola Tinubu will go drop bomb? Bola Tinubu just went and dropped bomb in Benin the other day. Why America need to come drop bomb in your own country when you have bomb figure drop in another country, Bola Tinubu? Don't you all see the play here when we tell us when you understand geopolitics? Because Nigeria and Jamaica are two big stage at the moment. Remember, in a COVID, Nigeria and Jamaica was two big stage for the trial galangin where them do. Nigeria did want go the cashless galangin to, you know. Nigeria did go in the reprinting a new money to, you know. We need to watch the play because our leaders are the prostitutes in the game. They have been pimped by Macron and Starmer and Trump. We need to understand the thing. Otherwise, we get lost. That's why I always telling us, don't listen to a politician them, because whatever they telling us, when they come in a power, and he who play the piper call the tune, whether it be the private sector organization or the international backers. We're not safe with none of them. Me know when we're wrapped up in our tribal feeling, it's hard for you to understand. When we wrap up in our tribal feeling, it's hard for you to understand. But we're not safe with none of them. None of our political party we're not safe with. That's why we're not progressing. That's why not now going for we. It's mainly because of corruption. When we have a leader, we can step aside and do what it wants to do. and think the population mustn't question him or he don't hold the population any question. It's because that leader know that we have become as corrupt as them, that them can carry out these behaviors in broad daylight without expect to face questions. We have a duty, my people. We have a duty to protect what was passed down to us. Andrew Holness don't serve our purpose, Jamaica. I mean, a vast sector of us knew that before the election. How he got back there is very, very questionable. Very questionable. But the broader picture, Andrew not serving with interest. There's a lot happening at the moment outside of Melissa, where Andrew is getting away with because everybody focused on Melissa. But all of the geopolitical peddling and the peddling where Andrew do with Donald Trump for the war in the region, which is going to create an almighty inflation and probably other things for us. But Andrew Holness is going with it willy-nilly, just like Bola Tinubu is going willy-nilly with the overthrow of Abraham Traore and the other leaders. Because it protects their corruption. When they see other leaders doing so well, it protects their corruption. Nigeria is not in the G20, but still it claims it's the biggest economy in Africa. The people of Nigeria are running away to South Africa to look for jobs. And Nigeria still attack the nonsense them. Nigeria still attack the nonsense. Nigerians still believe in the nonsense. Jamaicans have to run away to the other Caribbean countries to do the same tourism work and get better pay. But Jamaicans still roll up their shoulder and attack about superpower of the Caribbean. Do you understand how bullshit both of us Nigerians and both of us Jamaicans sound? When we just praise corruption, because that's all we do, you know, praising corruption. Because our leader them just stay there, get rich, like Andrew Holness and the criminal drug dealing Bola Tinubu. We cannot follow these people to our detriment, my peeps. We cannot follow these people to our detriment. We can't make Andrew Holness and Bola Tinubu too make decision for a whole nation. We cannot go back into slavery like that with them. We just cannot. So the quicker the people of Nigeria and the people of Jamaica see what your leaders are doing and see that nothing that your leader is doing is within your interests, you will wake up to try and stop them. Because if you don't, the consequences will be yours. And it won't be a nice one. It won't be a nice one. If you don't wake up and stop Andrew Holness and Bola Tinubu and stop the nonsense about giant of African superpower of the Caribbean, because your country economy does not reflect it. The social status of the people in your country does not reflect it. So no stop the idiotness and wake up to see that you are being held hostage by corruption. Wake up to see that you've been held hostage by corruption. And we need to work our way out of it. Because if you think that our crooked criminal politicians are going to change the system at all or anytime soon, something that adversely benefit them. You think they have any interest or they would put any effort into changing the way the system is, something that benefits them, something that allows them to get rich overnight? We need to wake up. We need to wake up and understand what is happening around us. It is our lack of knowledge that they strive on. It is our silence that gives them strength and bravery to continue right in front of our very eye, shamelessly. In the case of Andrew Holness, shamelessly, he gets on with his crookedness. Look at the disgraceful way that Andrew Holness is handling this disaster. Look at how Andrew Holness have scooped money left, right, and center. And up until now, they cannot tell us how they're going to spend the money. Because the last we know, Dana said, we don't touch it because we don't know how to do it. We don't know what we're going to do with it. Pernell Talks come tell us and spend $220 million by food. The country's yet to see the food. If we don't wake up, all of these things are going to continue to happen around us and become normalized because we accept them to be so. We think when these politicians do, what the government is doing in Melissa is below the bare minimum. What the government has done during the whole last 2 months, the government has performed below the bare minimum. And the bare minimum in a natural disaster is providing food, water, shelter, and medical assistance. Food, water, shelter, and medical assistance. Those are the bare minimum of a disaster. Our government, our master, because we don't have leaders, have failed miserably to even perform the bare minimum. Without the charities and the vloggers and the entertainers, many people would be left for dead. The same government that can scoop up soldier and police, send guys here to go fight America's war. The same government who couldn't get to dead body and people who've been marooned. We need to understand. So these people are not performing in our interest. It's either in the interest of their pocket or their international partners. They're not there in our interests. That's why I emphasize on us understanding governance. That's why I emphasize on not selling your vote. That's why I emphasize on understanding a policy argument during an election campaign. That's why I want you to understand being involved with your member of parliament and your councillor after they've been elected, drop the preferential, say, are the PNP elected, some as a Labour right now, going in office. Drop that. All of us have to come together and put them to work. Whether we Labour or PNP, when they elect for serve, all are we. Understand behavior until you get phone chosen politician, you will suffer through this thing happening in our constituency and community, and refuse to approach a politician about it because it's the politician of the other persuasion. If we don't break away these nonsense, if we don't break these away, our politician will continue to feed on those in order not to perform. But if we, both JLP and PNP, hold them accountable and put them to work, they will have to do something. But if both of us, JLP and PNP, sit down for 5 years or 2 years squabbling over them, we forget all of what they should have done. And by the time them come around with the euphoria and little food, the little money, and the little drink, we forget that they never do anything. And we give them back power again to do nothing again. Do you understand how responsible we are and how, because of that, we are being trapped by our involvement in their corruption through our tribalism? We need to wake up. We need to wake up, because if we don't, a whole nother generation will be lost. If we don't wake up, a whole nother generation will be lost. Get out of the tiny Jamaica mindset. Engage the world that we live in. Have an interest in geopolitics. Me tell you that geopolitics is a web. Something will happen upon one end of the planet can affect your pocket, your lifestyle, your health, your life. Look at the pandemic. It start wherever it start, and it get to wherever it get to. Look at when there's a war and it affect oil price, whether be oil shortage. Hold on there. Sorry. Whether be oil shortage or oil price going up, or inflation or food price because of a war or a disaster or whatever, it's all affect us. So we cannot mentally focus. Sorry, my nose a bun there. We cannot mentally focus upon we little zone when the whole our we're engaged with is much broader than that. If you understand geopolitics, you would understand the shadiness of Andrew Holness right now. And he's using he's using the distraction of Melissa. So this is everybody's focus on Melissa. He can get to run around and do all of this madness that we are not focusing on. But Andrew may have whole heap of eyes. And we still want to know what the War Department was doing in Jamaica. We still want to know what Bill Clinton was doing in Jamaica. We still want to know what the Foreign Office, the two visits from the Foreign Office from Marco Rubio and from Marco Rubio Undersecretary. We still want to know the purpose of those visits. Because while we are distracted, you're getting in a lot of wrangle with the Americans, and we're not being told anything. So we are watching Prime Minister. We are seeing and we want to know the purpose and reason for those visits. Anyway, my peeps, now go to my bed. Me know start burn me for whatever reason. But we will continue to hold you accountable. We're not going to let Andrew Holness lead us into war. Our next thing, Andrew Holness and Donald Trump make up argument, say terrorists in a Jamaica and talk drop bomb power. Nigeria, how far this bomb dropping in Nigeria is going to go? How far is this bomb dropping going to go? Our leaders are being held hostage by their greed. Our leaders are being held hostage by their greed. And their people are being held hostage by handouts. We need a different direction, my people. Marcus Garvey told us, unite or perish. At this point, when it's also played in front of us, when it's also playing in front of us, we're still tearing apart than we're more coming together. Anyway, my peeps, thank you all for being here this evening. Lovely to have your support. Continue to enjoy your holiday period. And join us back tomorrow morning for your At a Glance program. Thank you very much for being here tonight. See you in the morning.
Too long in our little ghetto, run keep going on less process. For children of Israel do really love rights. So just as I and I as a watching man, I run Babylonian walls. Oh, children of Israel, I should never hold thy peace. What wrong is going on? Hey, oh.
Oops, me never remember. So tomorrow is Saturday. Thanks for reminding me, Debbie. So join us back on Sunday. We'll return on Sunday. Thank you and good evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend as well. You see how the galangin have we slipped up?
Too long in our little ghetto, run keep going on less process. For children of Israel do really love rights. So just as I and I as a watching man, I run Babylonian walls. Oh, children of Israel, I should never hold thy peace. What wrong is going on? Hey, oh, we gotta bust down Babylon walls. Prepare and read the way. Prepare and read the way for your people. Let's go. Fight down war and crime. Fight down war and crime. Rastafari. War and crime. And do that righteousness. And we love Jah. And we love Jah. And we love Jah. Rastafari. And we love Jah. We love Jah. We love Jah. Rastafari. Put time away again. Listen, yeah. Just as I and I say, watch your man, I run Babylonian walls. Oh, children of Israel, I should never hold thy peace, while we are penalized. Hey, oh, night. We gonna bust down Babylon gates. Prepare the way, prepare the way for Rastafari. Fight down war and fight down war and fight. Rastafari, war and crime, and build up righteousness. And we love Jah, and we love Jah, and we love Jah, Rastafari, preserve all, and we love Jah. Me love Jah, me love Jah, Rastafari, preserve all. Me love Jah, Rastafari. Yeah, the next song is going to be the last song for tonight, and then.
If you don't like missing out on the latest shows but still enjoy classic hits, then Global TV Group 358 is your perfect match. Global TV Group 358 isn't just another channel, it's your ultimate TV experience. From breaking news to binge-worthy dramas and timeless classics, we've got it all. Our unique blend of original content and global favorites means there's something for everyone. And guess what? With GTVG's seamless streaming, you can watch anywhere, anytime. Plus, our interactive features let you be part of the action. So, whether you're a seasoned binge watcher or a casual viewer, Global TV Group 358 is here to keep you entertained day and night. Don't just watch TV, experience it with Global TV Group 358. Subscribe now and never miss a moment.